My son married Sierra, and they live 2 states over. Sierra's from a culture where it's customary that after she gives birth, she will not do any household chores. The family members, mostly women, will go over and do all those chores, such as cooking, cleaning, shopping, etc. She explained this to me, and it happens for a few weeks after the birth. She's not close to her family, and she asked me to come up for a few weeks and do this. My son will be back on call a week and a half after she gives birth. She's supposed to give birth in about a month, and I was talking about the logistics of the whole thing. I asked where I would sleep, and she informed me that I would need to get a hotel. This shocked me since they own a nice home. I thought it over and decided I didn't want to do this. I was already going to be doing them a huge favor by being a live-in maid. I was going to use all my paid time off for this, and now I'll also have to stay in a hotel? This isn't even a culture I'm a part of. I informed her that I'd be unable to come up for the time she needed if I have to stay in a hotel. I am willing to come up for a weekend if I can't stay at their home. I got a call from my son and he was angry. He told me that Sierra's been crying since and that I'm being an idiot. He said that I'm disrespecting her culture and rejecting her from the family. He knows I could afford this. I could, but I don't want to pay thousands of dollars to be a maid. We got into an argument. I explained my points, but he wasn't having it. Am I the idiot? Edit. She's Latin American. It's 40 days of rest. I don't remember the name. Oh, you're talking about La Quarantina. Yeah, staying in a hotel would make that extremely difficult. You're not the idiot. They're expecting too much. The key context here is community. If multiple family members come together, then helping the new mom is a shared burden that might not be too great for anyone. One harried mother-in-law is not a community. At the absolute very least, they can foot the hotel bill. You may wind up being thankful to be able to leave the drama daily instead of staying at the house. If you choose to go, make crystal clear you're not on 24-hour drop-everything call. Additionally, what the heck is keeping your son from stepping up to do chores? It's not his culture where women have to do this. Why isn't your daughter-in-law's family flying in and staying in a hotel? She needs to get over her issues with her family if she wants to adhere to this cultural tradition. Why would anyone assume that someone would want to take on all of that? That's so rude, entitled, and disrespectful. Mother-in-law should stay in a hotel and be glad she's not smack dab in the drama, visit her grandchild, and have a nice time. She has to help out as all good mother-in-laws do, but to demand you take on the role of full-time handmaid slave is beyond ridiculous. Good point. Their attitudes must have rubbed more than a few people the wrong way. Do not do this. It's darn insane. They can hire a maid for that kind of work. I've never heard of such unreasonable entitlement. If it's her culture, her family can come and wait on the princess hand and foot. If my son ever came to me with this kind of request, I'd have to laugh in his face. I have a job coming up in a different state, and I wanted to visit my family before I went since it's far away. So temporarily, my cousin said she would let me stay with her, rent-free. I've been living on the couch for a month and probably will for another month since my offer was pushed back. I had to pawn off a lot of my stuff since there was no room for it, which I've mostly accepted since it was short notice. I do wish I had at least my own space. She's also been paying for my food, since I wasn't expecting it to be this long and didn't save up enough before moving, so I didn't want to complain. I haven't been doing chores much either, since her kids are messy, and I don't want to clean up after them constantly. Initially, I didn't mind watching her kids or letting her use my car, but it feels like she's taking advantage of me now. I've even told her I don't want to watch her kids all the time. She started treating my car as her own and will even leave it somewhere if her boyfriend picks her up, leaving me stranded. She also plans on me watching her kids when she leaves without asking me. Yesterday, she said she was taking her kids somewhere, so I thought I could finally have some time to myself. But surprise, I had to watch her youngest because she's too young to go. I normally go to the gym, but now it always feels like I'm too busy with her kids to do anything I want to do. When I force the issue, it's mainly just to visit people I've been putting off visiting because of her. I don't feel like I have any time to myself. I understand it's like that for parents, but I'm not a parent. They aren't my kids. So I told her this, and I said I couldn't keep watching her kids anymore and that she needed to get her own. It's too much for me, and they aren't my responsibility. She got mad at me and told me if I hated it so much that I should move out. She said she was doing me a favor since she hadn't made me pay rent and bought my food for me. I agreed with that, but I noticed that watching her kids is basically a full-time job at this point, with permanent overtime. My sister-in-law says that I should help her out for letting me stay there and also help with the chores because being a parent is exhausting. Her husband, my brother, seems to understand my frustrations but wants to stay out of it, which I understand. Am I the idiot for refusing to watch her kids anymore? Edit. I don't mind watching her kids sometimes or even letting her use my car. Being an on-call babysitter 24/7 is not equivalent to having meals and only a couch to sleep on. She's getting way more out of this deal than I am. Everyone's the idiot here. She shouldn't be pawning her kids off on you with no heads up or leaving your car places. That said, you're under no obligation to stay there. And if you don't want to pull your weight in exchange for her kindness and sheltering you and feeding you for $0 and longer than expected, and what seems like an irresponsible lack of planning and foresight on your part, then you should leave. Feels like she's taking advantage of me now. LMAO, that is rich coming from the unemployed person who's being housed and fed. The way you so casually say you aren't doing chores or even paying for your own food, make no mistake, you're the one taking more advantage. She probably figured you'd be helping out with cooking, cleaning, and childcare. So that's why she generously has been housing and feeding you. Still, she should have spoken to you about it before assuming. Don't like it? Find somewhere else to squat. I, 34 female, got married a couple of weeks ago, and I have a dilemma. For backstory, my niece, young teen, who I've always been very close to, has been fighting cancer for a little over a year now. It's very difficult to treat, and since it was found so late, she has a very low chance of surviving. When planning my wedding, it was clear that there were no children, no exceptions. I even gave people local nannies and options for childcare while they were away. But when I got my sister's RSVP with 3 people reserved, I called her, assuming she had made a mistake. She then tells me that she thought that my niece, let's call her Dolly, was allowed because of her illness, and this may be the last event before she's so sick that she can't do anything. I explained my empathy, but said she still wasn't allowed at the wedding. I even told her that I initially considered it, but I didn't want to deal with other people's reactions when Dolly was invited and their kids weren't. She then cussed me out and said that she and my brother-in-law would not be attending. For the next 24 hours, give or take, I was bombarded with texts, phone calls, and voicemails from my family exclaiming their disappointment. Some are more disappointed than others. I made a group chat and sent out my response. Some key points from the message are, I am deeply sorry for Dolly, but when my friend's kids aren't invited and she is, crap will hit the fan. I considered inviting her, but then realized what would happen if I did. I am not changing my mind about this. I have so much love for Dolly and feel very sympathetic, but her having cancer will not make her an automatic guest at my wedding. Most understood. Some said that they wouldn't attend, and I accepted that. I had the wedding, had a fantastic time, married the man of my dreams, and gave a speech asking people to please help fund her treatment. The speech was recorded and sent to my sister and brother-in-law, and I was left unread. Not even a thank you, but now I'm starting to feel regrets. My sister not coming to my wedding really hurt, and maybe I should have invited her. So am I the idiot for not inviting my sick niece to my adult-only wedding? Edit. I want to mention 2 things. Dolly's also very immature. She grew up getting anything she ever asked for, so she acts out whenever she isn't given exactly what she wants. For example, my other niece, pre-tween, had a birthday party 2 years ago with a massive dessert bar. My sister's a health nut and told Dolly she could only have a Yolanda Hadid accepted amount of cake, and that was it. Dolly then screamed and cried because she could only have a little cake. She also cried when she couldn't blow out her cousin's candles. This is why I originally didn't want kids at my wedding. I think you made a mistake. Do you really believe that when your friends with kids found out that a girl dying of cancer was allowed to be there when their children weren't, they would have failed to understand? Really? Blaming a dying child for being spoiled is also not a good look. Her parents must be inwardly devastated all the time. I'm not surprised that Dolly isn't a perfect child, and she is only a very young teen. She must be well aware of all the things she'll never be able to do. A gracious and loving aunt could and would have done better than this. The speech was recorded and sent to my sister and brother-in-law, and I was left unread, not even a thank you. This is the height of arrogance. You could have had your niece present, which would have made your sister and brother-in-law's attendance possible. And you expected them to be grateful for your speech sent to them? I expect that felt more like you rubbing salt in their wounds and being superior. In this case, while you can invite those you want to your wedding, your reasons aren't good enough. Look how generous I am, is the vibe of that speech. And OP wanted a thank you? For what? Nowhere does OP indicate any of these idiots that would have thrown a fit about a dying teenager being invited to a wedding donated anything. Lady, was it worth it? If yes, that means you'll save money on stamps when you send out Christmas cards. You and your husband can gloat over how you were good people to those who will still talk to you. Because if my sister did this, I wouldn't have a sister anymore. My mom is a very sweet woman, but she's never had to deal with any real difficulty in her life. Bless her soul. She had a very sheltered and privileged upbringing, went to college to have fun, the intellectual kind, and promptly got married to Dad. They have a very traditional family style, where he makes all the money and household decisions, and she does upper crust housewife things. So while she's my mom and I love her, she's the last person my brother, sister, and I go to for advice for anything other than social networking, since she's very good at that. I know it sounds mean, but she's never worked any job. She's been in one relationship her entire life, and they have enough money to make problems disappear. Any advice she gives is the most surface level stuff that we've already thought of, and she doesn't know enough to know she doesn't know what she's talking about. My brother and his wife, my sister-in-law, have been having some problems in their marriage about when to have kids. My brother doesn't like the idea of being a super old dad and wants it to be now. My sister-in-law has a good thing going with her career and wants to wait some years. She's only 26, so it's not like the clock is ticking particularly loud at this point. My sister and I are close with our sister-in-law, so she floated the idea of asking my mom for advice, since in her view, my mom did raise 3 kids that turned out okay and she likes. I explained to her why my mom is bad at giving advice and that I'd found more success doing the opposite of what she says. Well, my sister-in-law talked to my mom anyway and let it slip that I said all of that. And yes, my sister-in-law did acknowledge that she received horrible advice about how no mothers care about their careers once their first child is born, so she might as well get started early or something. Anyway, my mom is mad at me for saying all of that, and I feel bad for hurting her feelings. At the same time, though, I think it was worth mentioning because I think it'd be pretty jarring to receive advice like that on such a sensitive topic with no warning. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. You feel bad for hurting mom's feelings? You didn't. Sister-in-law did. This isn't something that just slips out. There was no good reason for her to report what you'd said. You were trying to help her, possibly for the last time. Yeah, I'm having a hard time imagining how that piece of information could just slip. I think the sister-in-law told OP's mom about it on purpose, but who knows what that purpose was. Darn girl, you got thrown straight under the bus. Please don't trust your sister-in-law with anything confidential again. Either she doesn't think before she speaks, or she knows full well what she says and intentionally says it. Neither is good. You are the idiot if you went into all of what you said here about your mom and said that to your sister-in-law. You could have just told your sister-in-law that she should consider that your mom clearly thrived in the more traditional role of homemaking and child-rearing, so she may not connect with your sister-in-law's desires as well. Your mom's advice was not invalid. It was based on her experience. You pretty much told your sister-in-law that you dismiss your mom's contribution to your household and that her life experience isn't worth considering, I think I'd be hurt as well. This reminds me of the Simpsons episode where Lisa was super judgmental about Marge's life, dismissing her as just a housewife. Have you raised 3 kids or even had kids yet? Sorry, but as much as you're saying how much you love your mom, bless her soul, it sounds like you don't respect her at all. And her finding out you said that? Phew, dagger to the heart, man. I've been married to my wife for about 2 years, and we had our daughter a year ago. Now, my wife was married before. She got married pretty young, but her husband died. I knew all of this and have been just fine with it. Until now. See, she's still pretty close to her dead husband's parents, and they were excited for the birth of our child. FYI, they only had 1 son and no other children at all. They've been coming over to our place about once a week. It was fine at first, but it's gotten kind of suffocating. They have visited us more times than either her parent or my parents. They've even stayed over at our house at times, something I wouldn't even like if it were my own parents. Another thing, they talk about their dead son a lot, which is usually fine, but they've made some comments that make me uncomfortable. They even said my daughter looks like him, and his mom even said, "Oh, if she's this cute, imagine how cute your kids would have been if only," when talking to my wife. She was going to say more, but I think she realized what she was about to say. I was right there. I want to be amicable, and I knew there would be some moments like this, but it's starting to make me feel uncomfortable. Am I the idiot if I tell my wife's dead husband's parents to stop coming to see our daughter? Not the idiot. There's a saying, if you lose a parent, you lose your past. If you lose a spouse, you lose your present. If you lose a child, you lose your future. And it's really true. The ex-laws clearly need grief counseling. They're entitled to feel how they feel, and my heart aches for them, but they're not related to this little girl, and they clearly are struggling with their pain and loss. Access to this child is not healthy for anyone. Your wife is fine with them suggesting your children would be better looking if fathered by their dead son instead of you? Grief or not, that's blatant disrespect for you as her current husband and father to the child. Unless they apologize and there are more boundaries, I would not be okay with these people in my house or around my child, and your wife needs more counseling if she disagrees. Dude, why would you take it so intensely personally that they look at this kid and mourn how cute a grandchild of their blood would be? The commenters are so disappointing. So few of you understand anything about either community or grief. No one is the idiot here. These parents are grieving and obviously love your wife. She also clearly loves them. Perhaps a compromise can be made where they visit less frequently. The reality is that if your wife sees them as family, then they're her family. In my opinion, the more people who love your kid, the better.